I believe he can still be
Oh,
president.
oh
But
no, but
most people,
I asked, is he fit also to serve for another 4 years? You seriously believe that?
I think a lot of people have doubts about that.
American politics has consumed this Independence Day by one question. Is Joe Biden fit to run for a second presidential term? Or should he withdraw from the race and allow a younger candidate to emerge? The issue has been bubbling away for some time, with an increasing number of Democrats in the party and the media saying, sometimes more privately than publicly, that he needs to make way for someone else. With the Biden campaign and the White House saying, contrary to the evidence before our very eyes, that he's really still on top of his game. The matter was given rocket boosters after Biden's lamentable performance in last Thursday's debate, with more Democrats thinking aloud he should withdraw. But Team Biden still digging in. So where are we now? It's a story that is shifting every 12 hours at the least. I'm joined by Al Motor, a senior Democratic strategist, and Johanna Maska, who worked in the Obama White House and with Biden when he was Obama's vice president. Thank you both for joining me. Let's get straight to the question du jour for both of you. Start with you, Al. Is the president fit to run for re-election and to serve another 4 years in the Oval Office?
I think that he is. The problem he faces is that I don't think people believe he is fit to serve for 4 more years, number one. And number two, current polling is devastating on the question you just asked me, in light of the debate, but also it was fairly devastating before the debate.
So why do you
72%
think
of
he's still fit? Why do you think he's still fit? I mean, what do we take? The word of the White House spin doctors, or what we see in front of our eyes?
So I don't agree with your assessment that the White House says he's at the top of his game. I mean, no one believes that. But the question you asked is, could he still be president? I believe he can still be
Oh,
president.
oh
But
no, but
most people,
I asked, is he fit also to serve for another 4 years? You seriously believe that?
I think a lot of people have doubts about that.
Okay, Joanna, what's your view?
Yeah, I worked with President Biden, and watching him at that debate was really hard. He should step aside and pass the torch because, we had one president, Trump, calling America, which is the greatest nation in the world, a failing nation. And you had, President Biden struggling to articulate his vision, really failing to project the Democratic plan for America, which we do have, which we've seen in a roaring, and it's unfortunate that we've had Trump's inflation, but a roaring economy by all measures. So, it's going to be a telling time because Biden's got all of the world's NATO delegations, certainly whoever it is you all are going to send us, coming over next week after he does an interview this weekend with George Stephanopoulos. And I think, everyone is considering, what does this look like moving forward? This isn't the last debate. He's supposed to debate again.
Of
I
course,
don't
in
think he can
September.
keep going. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he can keep going. And we don't want to see that again in September and then have to drive the vote at the very, very last minute. So we
All
have
right.
about a week where we're probably going to find out whether Biden is going to step aside or if he's going to dig in.
Let me go back to Al. The difficulty you have, Al, is that according to this morning's Wall Street Journal poll, 80% of Americans agree with Joanna. They think he's too old to run. I mean, you're called the Democratic Party. I mean, don't you have to take notice of democracy at some stage?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I was going to go, is that
Okay.
without regard to whether he can actually do the job for 6 more months or for a year or for 4 years, if 80% of Americans think he can't, that may be unsustainable. And so I agree. I agree that we're in a situation of about a week, maybe 2 weeks. The president has to come to this decision by himself. He can be pressured by people,
Oh.
but he has to come to this decision by himself. And I think it's highly possible that he will come to the decision to step back, but he has not yet done so. And so he needs to be given a bit of grace and distance to get there, is what I would say.
And that is partly the problem, Joanna, is it not? Because even among those Democrats who do think he should now go, uh, they don't think he can be forced out. He's got all the delegates sewn up for the Chicago convention. The only way, as I understand it, correct me please if I'm wrong, the only way even the rebels see a way forward is that Joe Biden has to fall on his sword.
Yeah. Well, and in America on this Independence Day, we pride ourselves on not having a monarchy. That's the whole thing that we're talking about in the aftermath of a Supreme Court ruling. We don't have a monarchy, right? But no, because of how the election works, he has won delegates because he told everyone not to run. I mean, there wasn't really another choice on the ballot. I think a lot of people, Democrats, are frustrated. Those people who voted for him are frustrated because they didn't know that the decline was so steep. He does technically have to be the one to release his delegates. There isn't a law in every state mandating those delegates stick with him. But in order for it to be a competition, he does have to release those delegates. It's all coming really fast because, and this is why I'm saying it's probably a week, because we need to have our nomination before August. I believe it's the 9th. Yeah, because it's Ohio prints their ballots earlier. So we actually were already going to have a virtual convention to essentially nominate the Democratic nominee. And so we've got to make this decision very rapidly in these coming weeks.
I mean, I must say, when I look at the choice the American people are faced with at the moment, I think it'd probably been better if you'd stick with a monarchy, but that's another issue. We'll move on. We'll move on. We'll move on.
You can think that.
We'll move on at Independence Day and go back to Al. You see, I've watched this very closely, Al, and to begin with, after the debate, the dump Biden forces, if I can call them, they seem to be gaining momentum. And then the White House started to fight back, and it looked like the Joe must stay forces were working. Do you agree with Johanna that the next week something has to be resolved one way or the other?
I do. I mean, I said a week to 10 days. We're basically saying the same thing. I think that, and one thing that's not being talked about is that one of the Democratic lines of attack on Donald Trump is he doesn't tell the truth. It's one of the most potent and successful lines that motivate our voters, that he's a threat to democracy, he's a threat to our country, he's unreliable. And now we have a situation where it's like George Orwell, where we're being asked to not believe what we saw. And so if people think that this White House is not telling the truth, how can we prosecute the case in the fall that people shouldn't vote for Trump because he doesn't tell the truth? We've lost that high ground. And so, yes, it has to be done quickly. And I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's more likely than not that he steps aside, but he might not.
No, I agree. It's hard to see, and it kind of moves back and forward almost on an hour-by-hour basis. Joanna, if he does step aside, and he steps aside in good time to change the whole modus operandi of the convention in Chicago in August, does it just go to Kamala Harris, the nomination? No. Or, interesting, because I don't think that either. There will be a real open convention, will there not?
So exactly. I would like to see a real open convention. There are some Democrats pushing that Biden should essentially pass the torch to Kamala Harris, and that for some reason that's going to shore up the money game, and that's going to be the best way to prove democracy. But that's, to me, a missed opportunity. Every crisis is an opportunity. And we have a crisis right now. We have so many excellent leaders to show the American people. We have all eyes on us. I would like to see a process play out in which it is an open convention. People can give speeches, they can present their vision for America, and the delegates vote. Now, could Biden lean on the scales and say that he really wants Kamala Harris? Yes. And the other reason why he could do that is because a lot of the delegates to the Democratic convention are party insider types who would be inclined to go with an endorsement of that kind of magnitude. I would encourage Democrats that we not go that route, and not because Kamala Harris wouldn't be a great candidate if she was the candidate. It is because I want to see the American people be invigorated by a democratic message, and we have so many messengers who can deliver
All
that.
right.
Deliver that.
Okay, I've got one final question for both. It just requires a yes or a no. I'll come to you first, Al. So, will he or will he not, Joe Biden, be the Democratic candidate come November 2024?
No.
Johanna?
He is until he's not.
Yes or
I'm
no?
certainly hoping
Yes
for
or
the
no?
not.
Yes or no? Do you want a king or don't you want a king? It's a yes or no question.
I want to know.
Oh, well, okay. Then the no's have it. The no's have it. 2 no's. Al, Joanna, thanks for joining me on Times Radio. Good to talk to you.